Welcome back, Eagles. We're going to continue our practice of division. So we are going to be on the back of our division practice. We're on the back page, and we're going to look at these 6 questions. We're probably going to do 3 together again, and then you'll do 3 on your own. So let's go ahead and get started. I still have my pencil, sharpened pencil with an eraser. Let's do this. Whoop. Turn this guy around. Whoop. There we go. All right, so let's just go ahead and start with number 1. We have here 23. How many times does 23 go into 77,893? How many times does that occur? Well, that's pretty tough to do just off the top of your head. So we're going to use this long division strategy here. Let's use our same strategy that we used before. So how many times does 23 go into 7? Well, 23 doesn't go into 7, right? It's too big. So you can put a 0 there if you want, or you can leave it blank. It doesn't matter. That means that we're going to jump to the bigger number of 77. So we need to figure out how many times does 23 go into 77. Well, let's see. 23 times 2 is 46. So it's got to go in there more than 46. So let's see. What's 23 and 23 and 23? That is 9, 2, 4, 6, 69. If I add another 23, it's going to go over 77. So 23 goes into 77 3 times. So I'm going to put a 3 right there. And I know that 3 times 23 is 69 because I already did that math. So now I need to subtract 69 from 77. So I need to borrow numbers, right? I'm going to have to change this to a 6. I'm going to change this to an 8. Sorry, I'm a goober. Right? Yeah. No, to a 17. See, I'm going crazy. 17 minus 9 is 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Were you yelling at me in the video? I'm sure you were. I almost forgot to carry. So 77 minus 69 is 8. I'm going to go ahead and use my arrow. Make sure you have your arrow and you drop down that next digit. So now we need to figure out how many times does 23 go into 88? Well, we know it's more than 3, right? Because 3 times 23 is 69. Let's just keep using this stack here. I'm going to add another 23. See what that gets me. 9, 10, 11, 12, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, get out of town. So 1, 2, 3, 4 23s. 4 times 23 is 92, which is too big. So my assumption was wrong. We go 3 again. So 3 times 23 is 69, which we already know. Let's see if I can carry better this time. So I need to change this to a 7. I'm going to change that to an 18. 18 minus 9 is 9. 7 minus 6 is 1. So I have 19. But now I need to drop down my next digit, which is a 9. Wow. So now I need to figure out how many times does 23 go into 199? Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Well, we know that 4 times 23 is 92, right? So what if we did 8 times 23? What if we did 2 92s? So let's see. 23 times 8. Well, 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 2 is 16, 17, 18. Aha! 184 is going to be it. If we add another 23, we're going to go over this number. Right? 7? Yeah, for sure. So we're going to go with 8. 8 times 23 is 184. Subtract that. 9 minus 4 is 5. 9 minus 8 is 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. We have one more number here, and it's a 3. 153. Well, how many times does 23 go into 153? Well, we know it has to be less than 8. We know it has to be more than 4. I'm going to just, I'm going to try 6, see what happens. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13, 138. Well, can I add another 23 to that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, I go over. So it has to be this. 23 times 6 is 138. So 23 goes into 153 6 times. 6 times 23 is 138. I need to borrow, so I'm going to change this to a 4 and that to a 13. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. 4 minus 3 is 1. So remainder 15. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to erase some of this work here because I need to be able to fit my remainder 15. There we go. The answer is 3,386, remainder 15. Okay, let's go ahead and work on, let's jump to number 3. Let's jump to number 3. So we are trying to figure out how many times 13 goes into 70,656. Probably a lot. So the first thing we want to do is see how many times 13 goes into our first number here, 7. Well, 13 doesn't go into 7. You can either write a 0 here, like we did on our first equation we did together, or you can just leave it blank. I'm going to choose this time to just leave it blank. Okay, so this is blank on purpose. There's nothing here because 13 doesn't go into 7. So instead, I'm going to see how many times does 13 go into 70. How many times does 13 go into 70? This is when your math facts, your multiplication really comes into play here. This is why multiplication is so important to know because we need to use our best, I guess we can call it guess, but it's not really a guess, right? Because we're using the background knowledge we have of multiplication to try to figure out about how many times does 13 go into 70. So I'm guessing it's around 4, 5, or 6 times because you have to multiply the 1 and then the 3 and then that carries over, blah, blah, blah. So let's try 5. Let's see how many times. Let's see what 13 times 5 is. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 5 is 5 plus 1 is 6. 65. Aha! That's got to be it because you can't add in another 13 here. You would go over 70. So 13 goes into 70 5 times. 5 times 13 is 65. We're going to subtract 70 from 65, and that gets us 5. Draw your arrow to show how you're going to drop down that 100 section, the 100 digit, which is 6. So now we need to know how many times does 13 go into 56. Well, 56 is smaller than 65, so we know it has to go in there less than 5 times. Let's try 4 times. What is 13 times 4? 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 4 plus 1 is 52. There we go. 52 is very close to 56 without going over. So 4. 4 times 13 is 52. 6, 5, 4. There we go. Now we're going to drop down the 10 spot, which is the 5. So now we need to figure out how many times does 13 go into 45. Okay, well, we know it goes into 65 5 times and 52 4 times. This is an even smaller number, so maybe it's 3 times. Let's double check. 13 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3, 39. So it has to be 3. It can't be 4 times because 52 is larger than 45. So it has to be 13 times 3 equals 39. So it's 3 times. 13 times 3 is 39. All right, I'm going to have to do some borrowing here. So I'm going to change this 4 to a 3. I'm going to change that 5 to a 15. 15 minus 9 is 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And that would be 0. Okay, we have one more digit left in the ones place, so we have to show how we drop down that digit. Boop, 66. So how many times does 13 go into 66? Hey, we already know that because I did all this work over here. I know that 13 times 5 is 65, and that's as close as we're going to get without going over 66. So it's going to be a 5 again. 5. 5 times 13 is 65. 66 minus 65 is 1. We have no more digits to drop down, so that is our remainder. Remainder 1. So our answer is 5,435, remainder 1. Woohoo! Okay, let's do one more together. Let's do, which one did we do together last time? I don't remember. Let's just do number 6. That will leave you 2, 4, and 5. So let's do number 6 together. Here we have 80,364 divided by 22. Or how many times does 22 go into 80,364? We'll use our same strategy as last time. And that's where we know that 22 does not go into 8, right? It just doesn't work that way. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to take 22 into 80. How many times does 22 go into 80? Well, 2, 4, 6, 2 times, I'm going to guess 2. I think it's 3 or 4. I'm going to try 4 at first. So 22 times 4. 4 times 8 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. 88. So 88 is too big. I went over 80. So it's going to be 3. It's going to be 22 times 3, which is going to be 66. So 22 goes into 80 3 times without going over. 3 times 22 is 66. Now I need to subtract I need to subtract 66 from 80. So I could just do that the long way, making that a 7, making that a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 7 minus 6 is 1. And now I need to drop down the next digit, which is in the hundredths place. So now I need to figure out how many times does 22 go into 143. Ooh, okay, I know it's got to be bigger than 4 because 4 is only 88, and I have a lot more room to grow there. Let's try 22 times, what do you want to try? 5, 6, 7, 6? Do 6. 6 times 2 is 12. I'm going to carry the 1. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 132. All right, so 6 22s is 132. I can't add in another 22. I would go over 143. So it's 6. So 22 goes into 143 without going over 6 times. 6 times 22 is 132. Woo. Let's subtract it. 3 minus 2 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1, and that is a 0. Now we're going to drop down the tens place, which is a 6. So now we need to figure out how many times does 22 go into 116. Well, it has to be smaller than 6 because that's too big, right? 132 is bigger than 166. It has to be bigger than 4 because this is only 88. So it's probably 5, right? Don't you think it's smack in between those? So let's see what 22 times 5 equals. 22 times 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the extra that we carried is 11. There it is, 110. So it's 5 times. So 22 goes into 116 5 times without going over. So I'm going to put a 5 right here. 5 times 22 is 110. And 6 minus 0 is 6. And that's a 0, and that's a 0. All right, we have one more number to drop down. Whoop, that's a 4. So now we need to figure out how many times does 22 go into 64. Well, I still have my work over here that shows that 22 times 3 is 66. So that's too big, but barely, right? It's so close. So that means it definitely just needs to be 22 times 2. which hopefully we don't need to really write out. 22 times 2 is 44. So we'll put a 2 here. 2 times 22 is 44. Subtract. 4 minus 4 is 0. 6 minus 4 is 2. Did I do that right? 20. Yeah, I did. There we go. So the remainder is 20. There we go. 3,652, remainder 20. You might think that's a large remainder, but that makes sense because 22 doesn't go into 20, right? You can't do that. So therefore, that has to be the remainder. That is what's left over. If it was 22, we can make another group, but we cannot. And that's it. I know that we moved faster on this page, and that's okay. So you can always go back and rewatch, pause where you need to. On the questions 2, 4, and 5 that you're going to do on your own, make sure to use arrows, okay? Drop them down. You can use multiplication on the side to try to figure out how many times a certain number goes into a certain number without going over. If this is too messy for you, feel free to get another piece of paper out to do the actual work. That's fine. But don't lose that paper. You'll want to staple that with this one and give that to your math teacher. I think that's it. Ooh, this light is very bright. There we go. Ooh, it's blinding me. If you need anything, reach out. All right. Bye, everyone. Good luck. You got this. Bye.